we'll try one more time. Good afternoon. Hello. That's better. I don't ask for much. I just don't really like standing here talking to myself, because I do that when I'm at home. Right, well, welcome aboard the Millennium Dawn on our trip up to Westminster today. So we'll start, alright, on the right here is of course Tower Bridge. Right, opened in 1894, designed so those 2 centre bascles can open and raise to allow larger ships in and out of London. Right, there is only one day in the entire year that they will not open it for any ships. One day. Right, does anybody know what day that is? Christmas. It opens on Christmas. Opens on the Queen's birthday. Marathon Day. It's the only day that it will not open, the day of the London Marathon. Because Tower Bridge, it is part of the course. And if they opened it on Marathon Day, it'd kind of spoil the race, wouldn't it? I think they should open it just a little bit. Just a little bit, give them all a jump, make the marathon a lot more interesting. I mean, I would quite happily sit here all day long fishing people out from the river. Make my day at work a lot more interesting on the marathon day, because nobody can get to the piers on marathon day, so we genuinely run around following people running the marathon. That's all we do. Might as well have the day off. But yeah, part of the course, the 7-mile marker of the London Marathon, Tower Bridge. But it's an iron-built bridge clad in the stonework, so it does blend in with the Tower of London, back over there on the right. Okay, the centre keep placed there back in 1078 by William the Conqueror. Been a few things in its day, but most famously, a place of execution in the tower. Lots of people ask us, which bit of the tower is the bloody tower? Right, that's where the 2 young princes was murdered by their evil uncle. Right, but you can't see the bloody tower from the bloody river, behind the bloody trees. Bloody nothing I can do about that. Pretty gory joke that, isn't it? On the left here, don't worry, they will get worse. But on the left here is the fired her guns on D-Day, 18 years ago. Her main ornament are those big 6-inch cannons. 6 on forward, another 6 on aft, capable of firing a 100-weight shell up to 14 land miles. Not bad really, is it, for a vessel of its day? And then on the front of it there, flying from the front, the flag, the Union Jack. That is the only Union Jack that you will see in all of London.
Union Jack.
I'm not joking. Right? Yeah, you might see a flag, the Union flag. Okay, they're all flags because they're on flag poles. To be a... In front of the boat now, we've got a bridge. Anybody know the name of this bridge?
No. Union Bridge?
It's not hard, mate. It's wrote on the wall. This is London Bridge, right? There's been a London Bridge here for over 2,000 years. Okay, the first one was placed here by the Romans. There's been 5 at this point. Okay, we all know the nursery rhyme, don't we? London Bridge is falling down. Okay, that's because the second one fell down in a storm. The third one burned down. The fourth one sunk into the river. So we did the only thing that we could think of with our old bridge. We boxed it up and then sold it to the Americans. They bought it for $2 million. Stands in Lake Havasu in Arizona. Has anyone seen the old London Bridge in Arizona? Yeah, a couple of you. My nan, she wants to go and visit it, right? She used to walk across the old London Bridge every day. And I said I'll take her as long as we go in spring break. She can stay on the bridge and I will go and enjoy myself. On the right now, underneath this bridge here, right, is a little glass box. Now when we look through the windows of the health and relaxation spa, you might see some semi-naked people. So it was the idea of the spa owner to hide it underneath this bridge to stop everybody looking through those windows. Right, they clearly forgot about us on these boats. We go past all day long with hundreds of people, and I just think it is pretty funny to point it out. As you can probably imagine, some days are a lot better than others. There are days when we just wish that we never looked. There's also days when we go round in circles. Very, very situational. In front of the boat here is Southwark Road Bridge. This is the narrowest, least used bridge to span the River Thames. Due to the approach roads being so well hidden in the back streets of London, not many people know this bridge even exists. You saw anybody on it, they was lost. And then on the right here, the building with the 4 stone columns, Vintner's Place. In there, they have the most undesirable job in the world. That is where they have to taste all the wines that get imported into this country before they go on general sale. What a terrible, terrible job that is. Just imagine that. Sitting there 5 days a week, getting legless. I'd hate that job. Not really, alright? Nobody has ever got back to me. And apparently it's something to do with all the current staff doing lots of voluntary overtime. I don't need anyone else. To the left though, the white building, timber frames, thatched roof, replica Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. So in there you can see all of Shakespeare's good plays, all acted out in period dress. Makes for a wonderful afternoon if you're into Shakespeare's work. As I said though, it is only a replica. The original, it burns down. Anybody know how? Fire. So most things burn down, doesn't it? Well, Shakespeare, he wanted the sound effect of a cannon in one of his plays. So guess what he used? Yeah, he used the cannon. Right, the cannon misfired, the roof set ablaze, and that was how he lost the original Globe Theatre. Right, he was one of our greatest minds, Shakespeare, using a cannon indoors. I mean, I'm not even allowed to play with football indoors, let alone a cannon, honestly. Now about halfway on the journey, right, and what I like to do at halfway is just give everybody a little bit of useless information, right? So here you go. Remember this. There are more aeroplanes in the ocean than there are submarines in the sky. Totally useless, but it is true. Can't argue with that. Now, in front of the boat now, right, we got 3 bridges. First one of the 3, the Blackfriars Railway Bridge. Now this is recently featured in a film, okay? Many of you have seen the latest Mission Impossible film, Mission Impossible 62 or something, there's a lot of them, isn't there? But there's a scene in that where Tom Cruise smashes one of the windows in the offices over to the right, jumps out onto the bridge and runs across the roof of this bridge, chasing the actor who plays Superman, Henry Cavill. He then runs down, jumps down there and runs into the back of the Tate Modern. I only know that, I watched it the other week. The red stone columns, they're the remains of the St Paul's Railway Bridge. Had to take the main structure down, deemed unsafe, could no longer support the weight of the modern day trains. And the last one of the 3, the Blackfriars Road Bridge. This is the lowest bridge on our section of river we travel on today. Right, now we have plenty of clearance on the way up through there, Okay, and we do not just guess, right? But some days this boat physically does not fit through that bridge. Okay, but those of you who come down with us, I would have mentioned myself and the other captain that we served a 5-year apprenticeship to become captains on the River Thames. We have to learn everything in a 70-mile stretch of river. Okay, much like the London black taxi drivers do the knowledge for all the roads in London, we do it for the River Thames. We're both licensed Thames watermen, so we know all the heights of all the bridges. We constantly monitor the state of tide here in London, and we know the height of the boat. So it's only a very simple mathematical equation to work out whether a boat will fit through a bridge or not. I mean, and luckily I got a D in maths, so I'm pretty good at that. Now, coming up on the right now, on the embankment wall, underneath the lampposts, you'll see bronze lions' heads. Okay, now these are an old flood defence indicating system. They was used by the Victorian police. Now they would patrol down by the banks of the River Thames, and if they saw the water had reached those lions, they would issue a flood warning. London was at risk of flooding. So to help them remember that, they was taught a poem. Right, very simple. I'll tell you it all now. Join in if you catch along. It goes, if you see the lions are drinking, London will soon be sinking. But if it is up to the lion's mane, then we're about to go down the drain. But if those heads are ever ducked, London is utterly flooded. Okay, flooded. Not all poems have to rhyme. It's true. See that white boat on the right? That's the HQS Wellington. She was part of the New Zealand Navy. She was a troop carrier. Nowadays, the only floating livery hall for the Honourable Company of Master Mariners. The head of that club is Prince Philip, right, the Queen's husband. He's the head of that club. You quite often see him and the Queen on there, stumbling around that front deck after a few too many gin and tonics, reenacting that famous scene from Titanic. I bet you didn't know he could draw. Now in front of us though, folks, that you get a lovely picture now, right? Ahead of us to the left, lovely picture there of the London eyesore and the houses of scaffolding. I apologise for all the scaffolding on the building, right? But at the moment, that building has currently got more support than our entire government. So something's got to keep the country up. It's the scaffolding, trust me. But it's still a lovely picture though. Right? The reason it's got a lot of scaffolding on it at the moment, the tower everybody calls Big Ben, the Elizabeth Tower, is currently leaning over, okay, due to the vibrations from the very closely next to it underground network. It's upset the foundations, so if left untouched, it would just fall into the river, okay? So they're currently underpinning it to stop it from doing that. And unfortunately what that means is, while they're doing that, all the works, they're going to renovate the tower, clean up the clock faces, but it does mean they have silenced Big Ben, okay? Big Ben is the name of the bell hidden inside that tower. Okay, so what we look at is the Elizabeth Tower. It was always ever known as the Great Clock of Westminster. It was renamed for her Diamond Jubilee. Okay, Big Ben is just a bell that chimes on the hour and the hour alone. Right, if you remember, you had the collection of bells that chimed before you heard Big Ben on every 15 minutes. They're a collection of bells known as the Westminster chimes. Right, Big Ben, say the name of the big 13.5 ton bell. Right, that was named after Sir Benjamin Hall. He was the clerk of works at time of completion. And he was a very tall and a very loud man. He resembled that bell rather well. All I can say really is just thank God his name wasn't Richard. That'd have been inappropriate, wouldn't it? Can't go around calling a bell big, rich. Not acceptable. It's nice to see a few people on my wavelength though. Some of you will never get that. To the left though, it's the Royal Festival Hall. Last remaining building from the Festival of Great Britain back in 1951. Said to have the best acoustics out of the whole of Europe, and it's had many of the famous greats performing there. Frank Sinatra, Whitney Houston, Pavarotti, Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, Aretha Franklin, they've all performed in there. They've all got one thing in common. They're all dead. So all I'm waiting for in there now will be that Justin Bieber concert. I'll be a very happy man after that. Is there any believers? I guess it's too late to say I'm sorry. I'm just going through the Charing Cross Railway Bridge, folks. Right, if anyone feels any drips on their heads as we go through, okay, don't panic. It'll just be the trains because they discharge their toilets on the way into the station. It won't kill them. And then I mentioned it already, but over there on the left is the London Eye. Right, this is now London's top tourist attraction. Okay, and that's amazing considering it was only meant to be a temporary attraction. It was only meant to be here for 5 years. Do we all know why it's still here? Money. Yeah. Right, in one day in our summer, the London Eye will make just under £250,000. Right, that's just one day in our whole 5 days of summer here in London. Makes a lot of money, it really does. Right, that's why it's still here today. And it's also the reason they have built these all over the world now. Right, the London Eye is the 5th largest observation wheel in the world, I believe. It's actually the largest A-framed Ferris wheel, right? Because if you look how it's supported, it's the largest A-framed one. So there is bigger ones though. Does anyone know where the largest one in the world is now? In Dubai, right? They've got one out there. Guess what they called their one? The Dubai Eye. Original. There was one in Las Vegas, which was the largest up until recently. That one was called the High Roller. Okay, so to give you an idea of how big these are, the London Eye, 450 feet. The High Roller in Las Vegas, 550 feet. The Dubai Eye, anyone have a guess? Almost twice the size. It's literally massive. It's mad, isn't it? Right, but the London Eye though, has carried over 60 million people since it first opened. And it's also completed over 3,000 weddings. Right, you can get married on the Eye. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. Marriage, no. But you'll get on there with 25 of your friends and family. They start the service at the bottom, make your way round to the top as the ceremony is performed. When you reach the top, they then stop the wheel, pronounce you man and wife, you kiss the bride. Oh. And then off you go again, like most marriages, as you go downhill from then on. And it is true. You can ask my dad, he's done it 3 times. Well, I must admit, third time lucky. Although folks, we are now here at Westminster, destination for many of you today. Okay, now if you are leaving us here at Westminster, okay, if we could just kindly ask everybody just to remain in their seats as we go alongside. By all means, quickly stand up, take your picture, of the houses of scaffolding, and then when you finished your picture, sit back down again. Because we wouldn't want you to fall over and hurt yourself, because I will have to laugh at you. Okay? So just make sure you sit down. It also gives you the opportunity to have a look around you. Okay, make sure you got all your belongings with you, your cameras, your handbag, your mobile phones, your wives, your husbands. You wouldn't believe how many people come up to us asking where their husband is. Okay, one, probably never met your husband, so we have a clue who he is. And two, he's probably at the bar. Check there first, alright? Most importantly, the kids. Take your kids with you. Right? We still have 6 from last week. I don't know what to do with them anymore, right? It's very strange rules on eBay now, so to take the kids with you. Now, last thing I will mention, folks, right, just is a little bit about these commentaries, okay? As I said at the start, you probably all painfully worked out, okay? We're not official guides on these boats. We are just your crew. It's our job to get you from A to B safely. So we try and do the commentaries though, keep the old tradition alive, okay? Because it is a bit of a tradition on the River Thames. We're us, your crew. Share with you our local knowledge, hopefully making your trip a little bit more interesting and hopefully enjoyable. Right, so we like to keep the tradition alive. The crunch part of it is, because I'm afraid there's always a crunch part, isn't there, at the end of the day. Right, and that's we don't charge for the commentaries, because it would be unfair. I mean, look, clearly a few people didn't understand a word I waffled on about, as I did ask people to remain seated. You can't win every battle. So I just feel a lot better now I've said it, that's all. So we don't charge for the commentaries because it would be unfair on all those people.